revealed how one unexpected wedding night turned into a life-changing journey for her heart. Rachel had spent her whole life caring for others. At 28, she was a nurse in a quaint Midwestern town, living for the moments she could lend a hand. Her dream was finally coming true: a wedding to Tom, a blue-collar worker with a heart of gold. Joy echoed through the church, laughter swirled around the decorated reception hall. But just as Rachel was ready to step into her happily ever after, an unexpected figure emerged from the shadows: her estranged father. One moment, Rachel was twirling in her brilliant white dress; the next, her breath hitched as her eyes met his. Years of silence rushed back, dragging buried emotions to the surface like a powerful current, dark and strong. The cheerful chatter of family and friends began to dissolve into uneasy whispers, cutting through her initial bliss like a knife. Tom caught her worried gaze, his brow furrowed as the delicate atmosphere shifted, becoming heavy with unresolved pain. "What's going on?" he asked, wrapping his arm around her waist protectively. He just showed up," Rachel sputtered, her heart racing with disbelief. Everywhere she turned, wealthy relatives cast glances of disdain toward Tom, their disdainful snickers at his humble beginnings echoing in her ears. How could this day be turning so sour so quickly? As the storm clouds gathered above, both literally and metaphorically, a fierce wind lashed through the town, breaking through the laughter and mood. Heavy rains battered the walls of the venue. Then, news broke: a local veteran's home had suffered catastrophic damage, the roof torn away by nature's fury. In that moment of crisis, a silent weight fell onto Rachel's shoulders. Her instincts kicked in. "We have to help. We can't let this community suffer," she insisted. The moment of joy had morphed into a call to action. She felt a rush of purpose, and just like that, she became the leader in the community's effort to rebuild. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." As Rachel and her family toiled alongside neighbors, she glanced toward her father. What should have been a day filled with easy laughter and toast instead turned into a complicated tapestry of sweat, mud, and raw emotions. She noticed her estranged parents beginning to cooperate, each sharing stories of hardship, slowly dissolving years of resentment. But deep within Rachel, questions stirred. Why had he left all those years ago? When she finally confronted him, she learned of his pride, a burden heavy enough to keep him away. "It was never about you," he said, voice low. "I didn't want you to see me broken." The veil of anger began to lift, but would she reconcile with a man who had caused her so much pain? With family ties unraveling and hope rising from the chaos, Rachel now stood tested at the crossroads of love and forgiveness. The storm raged on, both in the skies and in her heart. There was a long road ahead, and she felt its weight. Could she choose to embrace the possibility of healing, or would the price of pride be too steep to pay? As the last raindrops fell from the skies, Rachel wiped her brow, taking a moment to breathe. The makeshift shelter they created with tarps and wooden beams had transformed from a place of despair into a vibrant hub of community neighbors rallying together, united by a shared purpose. Yet even amidst all this chaos, her heart remained in turmoil. Tom had remained by her side, his quiet strength anchoring her. But as Rachel watched him interact with others, laughter breaking through the gloom, a little pang of guilt gnawed at her. This wasn't how their day was supposed to unfold. They had dreamt of bliss and celebration, but now all that seemed lost in the storm. "Are you okay?" Tom asked gently, leaning closer, concern etched across his face. Rachel forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I will be," she promised, half to him, half to herself. I need to talk to him. You're dead? Nodding, Rachel's heartbeat quickened. She could still see him standing at the edge of the crowd, looking older and frailer than she remembered. A man defined by distance and silence, yet there was a hint of vulnerability in his eyes that drew her closer, despite the years of anger that had created a wall between them. Taking a deep breath, she made her way toward him. Each step felt heavier than the last, her emotions swirling like the wind. What would she say? How could she encapsulate all her pain into just a few words? Dad, she finally said, her voice breaking as she approached. Can we talk? He looked taken aback, the softness in his eyes reflecting surprise, as if he hadn't expected her to break the silence. Rachel not here, she whispered, the weight of their shared history threatening to engulf her in the open space. They moved to a quiet corner, away from the bustle. The smell of wet earth clung to the air, mixed with the scent of damp wood. She could almost hear their unresolved conversations echoing between them, years of longing and hurt standing like a chasm waiting to be crossed. Why did you leave? Rachel's voice trembled with emotion, raw and exposed. Her father's shoulders slumped as he rubbed the back of his neck, an old habit she remembered from her childhood. I thought it would be better for you, for your mother. How could you think that? She shot back, frustration boiling over. You left me with questions, Dad. You left me broken. Tears pooled in his eyes. I was weak, Rachel. I didn't know how to be the man you needed. I thought I was protecting you. The pain of his admission cut deeper than Rachel expected, softening her anger just a little. As he spoke about his struggles, about his desire to hide the truth about his life, she began to see him, not just as her father, but as a man who had faced overwhelming challenges even if his choices had hurt her deeply. I can change the past, he continued, voice cracking. But I want to be here now, if you'll let me. Can I trust you? Rachel asked, her voice barely above a whisper, uncertainty clouding her heart. It felt like such a fragile branch on which they were standing. I don't know, he replied honestly, but I'm willing to try. The storm had passed, but in its wake was something new, a small flicker of hope among the ruins. For the first time, Rachel could almost see a path for them, but the journey to rebuild wouldn't be easy. As they stood there, the world around them began to fade. Would healing come from their willingness to try? Or would the rifts of the past continue to loom large? A sudden cheer erupted behind them. Rachel turned to see Tom rallying the members of the community, their laughter bright against the fading storm. The thought made her heart flutter. Could she face whatever came next and allow herself to be loved? Tomorrow would bring fresh challenges, but now, her heart pulsed with renewed possibility. And in that uncertain moment, Rachel picked up the pieces of herself, ready to confront the future on her terms. But would the past prove too great a shadow to escape? Rachel took a step back, her father's words swirling in her mind. The community around them buzzed with life, yet here they stood on the edge of a fragile moment, two lives woven into a painful tapestry. The hesitation hung heavy between them, a question unasked but felt deeply. I want to believe you, Rachel finally said, her breath catching. But I can't just forget everything. Of course, her father replied, his voice steady, yet laced with an undercurrent of vulnerability. You shouldn't. It's part of who you are. I can't change what I did, but I can at least try to make things right. The sincerity of his statement opened a tiny crack in Rachel's heart. Still, memories of abandonment flashed through her mind, flooding her with doubt. Could it truly be that simple? A flicker of movement caught her eye. Tom was approaching, his presence like a warm blanket in this cold confrontation. He had a big grin on his face, but that quickly faded when he saw the tense atmosphere between Rachel and her father. Everything okay here? Tom asked, concern etching his features. Rachel felt a shift, the crowd receding as the warmth of Tom's support wrapped around her. "Yes, I think so," she replied, though her heart was still racing. Tom's eyes switched between Rachel and her father, sensing the heaviness, sensing the moment dangling by a thread. "If you need anything, I'm right over there," he said softly, giving her an encouraging squeeze on the shoulder before backing away. As he turned back to her father, the silence stretched, thick as the humidity that filled the air. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice trembling on the edge of hope and fear. "Let us take it slow," he replied. "I want to be in your life, not just a relic of the past. Let us talk about your dreams, your fears, anything. I want to understand you, Rachel." His honesty encouraged her to open up. "I'm afraid," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Afraid of getting hurt again, of being left behind. You've created scars that are hard to heal." "I understand." His eyes softened, filled with compassion. "I'm not asking you to trust me blindly. Just give me a chance to show you I'm still here." Rachel inhaled deeply, considering the gravity of his plea. Maybe this could be the start of something different, something more whole. "What if I need time?" she replied, desperation creeping into her tone. "What if I can forgive?" "Time is all I have to give," he said, almost with a sense of resolution. "I'm willing to wait for you to be ready." Her heart swelled and sank at his words. For the first time, the thought of reconciliation seemed possible, yet there was still that gnawing fear that loomed over their connection. Behind them again, laughter mingled with music, pulling Rachel's attention back to the vibrant community gathering. The sound was infectious, a reminder of unity, of rhythms of life ticking forward. "Maybe we can start by attending some of these gatherings together," Rachel offered, taking a tentative step toward their new beginning. "I'd like that," he said, a hint of relief washing across his features. As they stood together, Rachel felt a glimmer of hope ignite. She turned to gaze at the crowd, and for a moment, the sun broke through the clouds, bathing them in golden light. The world seemed alive with possibility. But as much as hope coupled with pain drew her toward a future, that lingering shadow remained in her heart. Would the color of tomorrow truly be brighter, or would past storms tear through their fragile truths once more? The beat of laughter from a nearby group echoed in her ears. Rachel smiled, but beneath it lay an uncertainty that wouldn't fade easily. How would they navigate this twisted journey together? Would any of it truly change? In the distance, a distant thunder rumbled, a storm far from gone. Rachel stood at the edge of the gathering, her heart dancing between hope and uncertainty. As the sun dipped lower, splashing the sky with shades of orange and pink, she felt a bittersweet pull. The laughter around them blended with music, a reminder that life kept moving forward, even as she stood still. "Let us grab some food," her father suggested, motioning toward the food stands lined along the path. "I want to learn what you love." Still processing his words, Rachel nodded slowly. "Sure. I guess we can start with that." Together, they walked toward the first stand, where the smell of grilled burgers made her stomach rumble. It felt strange, side by side with the man who once vanished from her life. As they reached the front of the line, her father leaned closer, trying to break the ice. "What is your favorite? You used to love cheeseburgers." She looked up at him, caught off guard by the nostalgia in his voice. "That was a long time ago," she murmured, her tone cautious. She worked to keep her emotions in check, unsure if she should allow warmth to bloom. After they collected their plates, they found a small table. Rachel picked at her food, her appetite wavering. Her father started to share stories about his own childhood, about camping trips and the first time he rode a bike. It was odd to hear him speak so openly. The distance between them felt both shorter and wider than ever. "Did you ever find joy in these things?" she asked, surprising herself with her openness. I mean, when you were he cut in softly, when I was gone. Rachel nodded, her heart thudding. You could have joined in. I know, he said, sadness lacing his words. I didn't realize what I was missing until it was too late. Just then, a familiar face from the crowd caught her eye. Tom approached, holding a slice of pizza and grinning wide. There you are. I was just looking for you, he said, looking between them, a flicker of concern in his eyes. Tom, this is your father, he finished for her, extending a hand. Nice to finally meet you. The tension in the air shifted as her father shook Tom's hand. They exchanged pleasantries, but Rachel sensed a brewing storm beneath their casual conversation. Do you come to these gatherings often? Tom asked, casually leaning against the table, trying to ease the weight of the moment. Not as much as I should. I've missed a lot, her father interjected, glancing quickly at Rachel, like a man seeking redemption. Tom offered a supportive smile, his eyes darting back to Rachel. You're here now. That's what matters. She smiled back, but inside she felt a whirlwind of emotions. The complexities of her father's presence and Tom's kindness collided, leaving her even more bewildered. Could she balance her old pain with new beginnings? Just then, a loud cheer erupted from the crowd as someone announced a dance contest. The music changed, and Rachel felt the thrum of excitement pulse through her. Something about it was infectious, sparking her spirit as a sudden thought struck her: what if she stepped out of her comfort zone just a little? Hey, maybe we could all join the contest. She blurted out, surprising even herself. Are you sure? Tom asked, his eyebrows raised, but enthusiasm in his voice. Rachel looked at her father, who hesitated for a brief moment before nodding slowly. I think that would be a great idea. Taking a deep breath, Rachel stood. Then let us do it, she said, feeling a rush of adrenaline. The possibility of letting go, if only for a moment, flickered in her heart. As they made their way toward the dance area, a pulse of excitement coursed through Rachel. She didn't know what the night would hold, but for the first time in a long while, she felt the stirrings of something brighter, something alive and hopeful. But the shadows of the past lingered, reminding her that navigating this new path with her father would test her in ways she hadn't yet anticipated. Just as they joined the crowd, she glanced back at him, a question hanging unspoken in the air: how many steps until they could truly dance together in harmony? The music pulsed around them, a vibrant beat that seemed to draw the crowd in like a tide. As Rachel stepped onto the makeshift dance floor, an unfamiliar nervousness settled in her stomach. She had spent so long keeping her emotions at arm's length. Now, with the heat of the lights above and the sea of unfamiliar faces around her, vulnerability bubbled to the surface. Tom and her father flanked her, their energy infectious. Tom was already swaying as if he had done this a million times, while her father watched with an encouraging smile. Rachel's body responded to the rhythm against her better judgment. It was impossible not to get swept up in the moment. Just let go, Tom said, guiding her into the rhythm. She laughed, the sound breaking the tension she had held onto so tightly. Her father laughed too, and it felt strange yet thrilling to see him enjoying himself. The rift of silence and distance began to dissolve, swallowed by the music and laughter they shared. In those shimmering moments, Rachel found the courage to step forward, her feet moving in sync to the beat, her worries fading away. But just as she thought this was what she had longed for, a sudden thought invaded her happiness. Could this moment last? Doubt crept in, twisting her stomach tighter. She glanced at her father, who was laughing at something Tom said, his eyes sparkling with delight. Yet she remembered the years in between, the hurt and the silence. At the first dance competition, duo took the floor, and the crowd erupted in cheers. Rachel couldn't help but feel a swell of excitement. The competing pairs twirled and spun, pouring their hearts into every step. It reminded her of the joy she had yearned for. What was it about dancing that seemed to liberate spirits? Suddenly, a group of teens nearby cheered loudly, shaking her from her thoughts. They were calling her name, urging her to join the next round. Rachel hesitated, the feeling of being watched igniting a flicker of self-doubt. But as she looked at her father, who nodded encouragingly, she felt a spark within her. "Let us just have fun," she shouted, surprising herself again with her boldness. With one last glance at Tom and her father, she threw her arms up and sprinted to the center of the dance floor. There was no turning back now. As the competition began, she allowed herself to dance, to feel. Adrenaline surged through her veins as she moved. With each beat, she felt barriers crumbling. It was exhilarating, that mix of fear and joy, raw and real. And for those precious minutes, it wasn't just about the contest, it was about freedom, reclaiming a part of herself that had been silenced for too long. But then, the music changed. A slow ballad filled the air, and all around her, couples began to pair off. She suddenly felt exposed, the jubilance of the fast song replaced by a deep sense of vulnerability. Could she keep going? Her heart raced, the spotlight now felt heavy. Just then, her father stepped forward, extending a hand toward her. "May I have this dance?" he asked, his voice warm and inviting. A mix of emotions crashed within her: surprise, apprehension, and hope. Should she trust him? Could this be a chance for something beautiful? The music played on, the crowd faded, and the moment hung in the air, suspended between them. Rachel looked into his eyes, searching for answers, wondering the true meaning of this new embrace. What would it take for her to meet him in this dance, both literally and figuratively? The answer awaited in the rhythm of their next step, both thrilling and terrifying. Would she reach out and take his hand? Rachel's heart pounded in her chest. She found herself caught in the depths of her father's gaze, an ocean of emotion swirling just beneath the surface. 4 years, they'd danced around their problems, both unwilling to meet in the center. And now, under the glow of colored lights and the swell of the music, was it finally time to connect? Taking a step forward, Rachel felt the pressure release slightly as the crowd faded back, leaving just the two of them. She raised her hand, hovering for a moment, unsure, but then his warm fingers wrapped around hers, and everything else slipped away. The dance floor became their world, and as they swayed gently, she felt the years of distance dissolve into something approaching grace. "Just follow my lead," her father whispered, his breath warm against her ear. She nodded, and with each turn and movement, she sensed the weight of the past gradually lifting. The softness of the music pushed her fears back, and for the first time in a long while, she was present in the moment. His hand on her back was firm but tender, guiding her, and though they stumbled slightly, it felt right. She began to rediscover the rhythms of trust that had been absent for far too long. With every beat, she leaned into him, surrendering the control she'd clutched so tightly for years. She had wanted so desperately to dance with him, and now, here they were, both stepping into a new kind of vulnerability. The crowd around them cheered, but their voices became a gentle murmur, a backdrop to their shared moment. The laughter in her father's eyes mirrored her own joy, and as they danced, she finally saw the man behind the father. He had his scars and stories, too. The weight of her own emotions began to transform into something lighter. Maybe forgiveness was possible. Maybe they could start anew. But just then, her thoughts interrupted the swirling dance. "Do you remember when we used to dance in the living room?" she asked, almost shyly. He chuckled softly, nodding. "Every Saturday, after your mom made dinner. You would wear that ridiculous tutu." His voice trailed, but there was no sadness in his eyes, only warmth. "Yeah. And you'd lift me like I was a ballerina." The memory made her smile, and she could feel her father recalling it too. Then, as the ballad continued, the music softened, allowing unspoken words to linger in the air. She wanted to ask him about those years of silence, the arguments that had pushed them apart, but something held her back. This dance was a bridge, but it wasn't the time for the heaviness of the past. As they wrapped up the song, he spun her out and pulled her back in, whispering, "I am so proud of you, Rachel." Those words felt like a bomb, soothing the scars left by their distance. The song reached its end, and as the last notes hung in the air, Rachel found herself wanting more. "Can we try that again?" she asked, her heart racing, eyes bright with a mix of surprises. She felt bubbling up hope, maybe even love, but just then, the music shifted again, and the atmosphere around them started to change. A whirlwind of new couples took their places, and she felt like she was back on the sidelines, hesitant once more. The moment of connection began to slip through her fingers like sand. Her father looked at her, sensing the shift. "Rachel," he said, that infectious warmth in his voice still alive. "We can take it one step at a time." But could she? The world seemed so large again, so filled with possibilities yet tangled with uncertainty. Would this dance be the beginning or just a fleeting moment? And there it was, her heart teetered on the edge of something important, waiting for a decision that could change everything. Would she step forward into this chance, or let fear drag her back again? The next song started, a lively tune that beckoned dancers, swirling with promise and energy. Could she trust that they could rise together through the music as a family, or would this merely be one dance among many with her father? A whisper of hope soon faded away. Rachel's fingers trembled as she gripped her father's hand, searching for the way forward. The lively beat of the new song pulsed around them, a stark contrast to the soft melody they had just shared. Fear tugged at her heart, dousing the warmth that had blossomed only moments ago. Could she push through the doubts that threatened to pull her back into the crowd? "Just breathe," her father said, his eyes glimmering with encouragement. He gently shifted his hold, guiding her into a light two-step that mirrored the upbeat rhythm. Reluctantly, she fell into step with him, the movement coaxing a small smile from her lips. Around them, couples twirled and laughed, lost in their own worlds. But here, on the edge of the dance floor, Rachel felt anchored again by her father's presence. The distance didn't seem as daunting as it had before, yet a question lingered: could the music really lead them to a new beginning? "Do you remember the last big family gathering?" Rachel asked, her voice rising over the music. "How we all danced like it was our last chance?" A nostalgia painted her father's face. "Of course. We thought we'd outgrown the basement. But when the music started, everyone gathered in." He chuckled, and Rachel could picture it, the room filled with light, laughter, and their family, once so close, now scattered like leaves on the wind. His eyes sparkled as he continued. "You were the star that night. I thought you might dance right out of your shoes." That memory triggered something deep within her, a longing to recreate that feeling of unity, of joy that filled every corner of their lives, before the silence settled in like heavy fog. Her heart raced at the thought. It might just be possible to turn back the clock if she could take the leap. "Maybe we can have a family gathering again," she ventured, her voice barely rising above the beating drums of the song. "A barbecue, maybe. Invite everyone." "Yes." Her father's enthusiasm made her heart leap. "Just like the old days. I could fire up the grill, make your mother's secret marinade." Rachel felt hope soar. The idea sparked so much possibility, a way to reconnect not only with her father but with the whole family. But other voices crept in, whispering doubts. And what if it doesn't go as planned? What if it turns into another argument? In that moment, the laughter and cheers from the crowd began to dim, and her resolve wavered like the flickering lights around them. The music shifted again, slowing, melding from vibrant to a softly resonating rhythm that felt like a drumbeat of her heart. "Hey," her father said, sensing her hesitance. He leaned in closer, the warmth returning. "We'll navigate those waters together. One step at a time, right? Remember?" She nodded. Rachel took a deep breath, pushing the noise away. Maybe opening up wouldn't be so terrifying if she did it with him by her side. As they moved to the heart-thumping beat once more, something shifted. Maybe it wouldn't be easy, but she found strength in the connection they were building. The memories of the past didn't have to tether her, they could become stepping stones. Just when she was ready to step back into the rhythm fully, they collided with another couple. They stumbled, laughter bubbling up as they tried to regain their footing. Rachel's father caught her, pulling her close, their gazes locked in a moment filled with surprise, and in that instant, the hurt of the past softened. Wasn't this exactly what they needed? A little laughter, a little chaos, perhaps even a mistake that could become a part of their story. But then the couple, slightly tipsy and all smiles, turned to them. "Are you two going to dance or just stand there staring at each other?" The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Rachel glanced at her father, thoughts racing. Would this be the moment where they openly confronted everything unsaid, where she'd take control of her heart and turn the tide towards healing and understanding? Would they seize this chance to truly reconnect, or would it all come crashing down under the weight of unresolved issues? The world around them blurred, and Rachel felt the pressing question: would she step into the rhythm of hope, or retreat once more into the shadows that had long overstayed their welcome? The laughter of the couple hung in the air, vibrant and inviting, yet for Rachel, the moment felt overwhelming. Her heart raced, and the weight of unspoken words bore down on her. She looked up at her father, searching for a sign, a flicker of encouragement. His grin radiated warmth amid the commotion, a reminder of hope. "Come on, kiddo," he said, the mirth in his voice nudging her forward. "Let us not keep these nice folks waiting." With a deep breath, Rachel stepped into the thrumming pulse of the dance floor. Her feet moved almost instinctively, guided by the rhythm that enveloped them. She found herself lost in the music, eyes sparkling with something she hadn't felt in a long time: joy. Her father twirled her, their laughter blending seamlessly with the other sounds, creating a small bubble of togetherness just for them. As they spun in circles, she felt lighter, as though each rotation momentarily lifted the weight of her worries, if only to return later. The world faded into a blur of colors: swirling dresses, shining shoes, and light. In this moment, she wanted to forget the past. "Remember when we would get all the aunts to join in?" Rachel asked as they danced, her voice squealing with excitement. "Of course. Your Aunt Martha could shake it like there was no tomorrow," he said, shaking his head and chuckling. The memory ignited a spark in her. Underneath the laughter, she saw a flash of recognition in her father's eyes, a reflection of a shared history. With that comes a realization. She could reach out, not just to him, but to everyone else too. Perhaps all it took was a simple invitation. But in the midst of her joy, the doubts crept in again. What if her uncles didn't want to come? What if her cousins had grown too distant? Would they all just slip back into their corners like before? Just as these thoughts began to cloud her mind, she caught her father's gaze. He seemed to sense her inner turmoil, and it brought him closer. "Rachel, you've got to have faith," he said, nudging her shoulder as he brought her back into the dance. "Every new beginning has its challenges, you know." "I know," she replied, her voice barely audible amid the music. "But what if they don't want to fix things with me?" The music paused, leaving only the sounds of clinking glasses and swirling conversations for a moment. Rachel felt exposed, the vulnerability of her fears laid bare. "They might surprise you," he said softly. "People want connection as much as we do. They just need the right reason to feel it." As the music resumed, she took another breath and let it out slowly, feeling the tension dissolve a little more. The rhythm seemed to call for her again, urging her to dance and break through the fears that had gripped her. With each step, she began to see a future painted with laughter and camaraderie. She realized that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't the only one who wished for the closeness they once had. The spark of possibility lit her spirit, and she felt ready to forge ahead. But just when she thought she had clarity, the couple who had prompted them to dance reappeared, their energy contagious. "Hey! You two are killing it out here," the woman exclaimed, reaching for Rachel to join in their small circle of joy. The unexpected invitation sent a thrill through Rachel, yet her heart raced with uncertainty. Would this random encounter lead her further into the light, or push her back into the shadows as she feared? For a fleeting moment, she stood before the two paths, embracing the joy of the moment with strangers or shrinking back into familiarity. What echoed in her heart was the question that always lingered: would she finally gather the courage to bring her family back together, starting this journey on an unexpected note? Rachel's eyes flicked from her father to the couple, a choice weighing heavily on her chest. Should she step into this new rhythm of life, or hold on to what had been? The choice lay before her, and the next step felt both thrilling and terrifying. As she grasped her father's hand tighter, the answer began to reveal itself. Rachel took a deep breath, the warmth of her father's hand grounding her amid the whirlwind of colors and sounds. The couple's infectious laughter tugged at something deep within her, a part that yearned for connection, the kind of bond that had faded over time with her family. She looked at her father, his eyes shining with encouragement, urging her to let go of her fears. "Come on, it'll be fun. Join us." The woman beamed at Rachel, her enthusiasm like a lifeline thrown out to someone drowning. With an uncertain smile, Rachel nodded and took a step forward. The music swelled, and as she was pulled into the circle, she felt a wave of warmth envelop her. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. She caught her father's proud grin as he stood back, hands on his hips, an unwavering support beam from a distance. They danced together, the rhythm igniting a spark inside her. She felt parts of herself she thought were lost come rushing back. The couple showed her how to let loose, to spin and twirl without caring about who was watching. Each laugh echoed like a drumbeat in her heart, pushing away lingering shadows and replacing them with bright moments of connection. As the song shifted, Rachel found herself sharing quick glances with the couple. They were strangers, yet they felt as familiar as family on this rollercoaster of emotions. Their laughter punctuated the growing tension inside her, each shared joy providing a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, she could take that risk with her own family too. Midway through their dance, the woman leaned in, her voice sincere. "You have a beautiful spirit. You must have a family who loves you." It was a simple statement, but it hit Rachel like a wave. Her smile faltered, thoughts racing back to her family's estrangement. Did they still care? Would they even want to reconcile? The fears of rejection gripped her once again, tightening like a vice around her heart. "Yeah, I do, she hesitated. "I want them back in my life, but it feels impossible." The woman tilted her head, eyes sparkling, as if she held some secret of the universe. "Nothing is impossible. Family can surprise you. Better yet, sometimes, it just takes one brave person to make the first move." Rachel's breath hitched. Could she really be that person? With each beat, the music provided a new rhythm and invitation to change her journey. She imagined her family dancing, laughing, and reconnecting in ways she had missed dearly. The thought alone ignited a fire of determination within her chest. Then, a new song began, slower but filled with trust and contentment. The moment transformed around her, and she turned to see her father watching, proud and full of expectation. Rachel felt a warm blush creep up her cheeks. This was it, the moment of truth. She was standing on the edge, ready to leap into the unknown. "I want to bring my family together again," she declared, louder than she intended. The words stumbled out like a release, a promise to herself. "I just don't know how. Start by reaching out." The man chimed in, clapping his hands as if to shatter the doubt clouding her thoughts. "It could be something simple, a group chat, a dinner. Just invite them in." Rachel's heart raced at the thought, excitement making her giddy. She envisioned coordinating a cozy family dinner where stories could weave together like strands of a tapestry, reclaiming the lost moments. "Come on. You can do this." Her father's voice broke through the crowd, a clear thread of encouragement. "You've got this, wretch." And in that moment, with strangers cheering her on and her father's unwavering support giving her strength, she knew this could be the start of something beautifully transformative. But as the music wound down, a new fear settled in. What if they turned her away? What if they laughed at her attempts to reconnect? Would she have the courage to face that possibility? The thought froze her where she stood. As she watched the couple celebrate, swirling around each other all aglow in laughter, a new resolve began to brew in her heart. The dance of potential flowed, raising the question, could reconciliation really be just a conversation away? With those thoughts simmering, the next step seemed monumental, with the future shimmering like the lights around them. Would she dive into the unknown or allow fear to hold her back once again? The night stretched ahead, ripe with possibilities, and Rachel stood at the brink, ready to see what might happen next. The music reached a crescendo, filling the air with energy that felt electric. Moments before, Rachel had stood on the precipice of uncertainty, the shadows of her past closing in. Now, something shifted inside her, a new kind of resolve kindling like the sun breaking through a dark storm. She turned to Tom and her father, seeing hope and pride reflected back at her. "I'm ready," she announced, voice steady and clear. "I'm ready to reach out to my family." The words tasted sweet, freeing her from the chains that had long held her back. It wasn't just about forgiving, it was about inviting them into her life again, weaving the threads of connection that had frayed. Tom squeezed her hand, anchoring her in the moment. "That's amazing, wretch. You can do this." Her father nodded, a glimmer of admiration shining in his eyes. "You are stronger than you think," he said, and his voice was laced with warmth. For the first time, Rachel saw the man standing before her not just as her father, but as someone on a journey to, navigating the turbulent waters of forgiveness and healing alongside her. As the next song began soft and melodic, she approached her father. "Can we dance to this one?" With a shy smile, he took her hand once more, and they stepped into the rhythm together. As they swayed softly under the glimmering lights, Rachel could almost feel the years of distance shrinking away. It became intimately clear that while wounds would take time to heal, each movement was a step toward rebuilding their bond. "Do you remember how you used to lift me when I was little? Just like this?" she asked playfully, and in a heartbeat, he twirled her around. Laughter bubbled between them, pure and light. It felt like magic, a reminder that joy was still possible, waiting right here amongst the carefully spun moments of connection. Her heart swelled as she looked around at the gathering crowd, people celebrating love, laughter, and community. The warmth in their smiles felt inviting, echoing her own hopes for reconciliation. Through the harmony of music and laughter, inspiration sparked within her. "What if we invite everyone for a potluck dinner this weekend?" Rachel suggested, her voice rising with excitement. "I want everyone to meet Tom and reconnect like we used to." "That is a fantastic idea." Tom beamed, his enthusiasm infectious. "We'll make it special. Everyone will want to come." Rachel's fears faded even more as they mapped out every detail. She imagined laughter echoing through her home again, the smell of comfort food, and the sounds of voices mingling. This could be the bridge to mending the scars. Hours passed in blissful chatter and dance, and as the night drew to a close, Rachel felt lighter, free from the burden she had clung to for too long. Stepping into faith had transformed her journey, and as she looked at Tom and her father, she realized she wasn't here alone. They would face whatever came next together. As the final song played, she wrapped her arms around Tom, and her father joined them, creating a circle of warmth. The bond between them pulsed with love and renewed hope, illuminating the path forward. Gathering the strength that comes from uniting, she whispered into the night, "Thank you." Finally, joy returned to Rachel's heart. The past would always remain a part of her story, but now, it didn't define her. She stood ready to write a new chapter filled with love, laughter, and family gatherings, determined that they would dance through life together, one step at a time. But now, dear friends, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss a single exclusive story that could change lives like Rachel's. If you love this journey, leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let it know you want more inspiring tales. Don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Comment down below your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your thoughts mean everything. Together, let us spread the love and inspire each other to take brave steps in our own journeys.